Hi, Lansing Catholic. Welcome back to the Cougar Daily. I'm Father Paul, and with me, as always, is my co-host,
Mr. Pohl. And if you see me doing this during the episode, that is because I have to type on my laptop, which is up high because I spilled coffee on my external keyboard just before the show. It was a mess. So
It was quite exciting to watch via camera.
yes. So now we have on the show an alum. We're gonna see if we can have alumni in from here through next week, and part of the show we'll ask them to share a bit of advice, just very practical stuff for their and for our seniors and those transitioning beyond high school. So today we welcome Thomas Crowley from the class of
2019, I think.
There we go.
Everybody,
Did you just say I think?
dude, come on. Everybody knows I'm not that smart.
What
Like,
university?
Oh,
So
man. We should have started with a different alumni.
you're at the University of Michigan, right?
smartest dumb guy in the world. That's my thing. Okay, I'm talk dumb. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
Y'all know if you're listening.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, Thomas. It's good to have you, I guess.
Yes. All right. Well, we got. Actually, before we do memes, what have you been up to? You've been obviously back home, like a lot of college students and stuff back here in Lansing. But have you finished up your semester at Michigan? Like, what have you been up to?
Yeah. So we finished. Like April 29th. So I've been done. Yeah, it's really nice. But right now, get to hang with the fam a lot, which has been cool. Being back home. And then I'm working over at St. Vincent de Paul, which is like we give out food to people who need it. Make some deliveries with that. Pop on the mask, the gloves, look all official. And then Father Steve down at Church of the Resurrection has been letting me hang out. And go to mass there, which has been a huge blessing. So you all are in my prayers when I'm at mass. As unite as the body of Christ, we're one, and you guys are with me when I'm receiving. So know that too. And other than that, I did some social distance walking with a couple friends in the neighborhood. I think we stayed 6 feet apart. But yeah, sports, running, alone stuff.
Nice.
Nice. That sounds good.
Well, and you've been serving at Mass.
I was going to
Res,
say,
right?
It's been fun to see you on Mondays.
Yeah. Me and Father Paul have been doing mass together.
Tag team
if you want to hop on Church of the Resurrection.
It's pretty hype.
Amen.
See what I did there?
Amen.
As the kids say. Yes.
They do say that.
I am hip and with it.
All right. Well,
All right. On that note, let's stop talking about that.
On a different note, speaking of talking, did you know that there are parts of speech in English, in the English language? I did.
To be because I did know that.
Yeah,
Thomas was looking confused.
I was mostly just searching for a segue into our meme, which is amazing.
Perfect.
I love number 4.
Manage expectations. Now, Thomas, have you seen Princess Bride?
Oh, of course I've seen Princess
Good.
Bride.
I'm glad to hear that.
Manage expectations.
Father Paul, can I get an impersonation of this line, please?
Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Father Paul, you are something. All right. Also, these aren't parts of speech according to English grammar, but they are the parts of speech that are important to know.
Right.
So,
how to be good at
Right. So this is
would be proud of you, Mr. Paul.
Right. Thomas has been studying business at Michigan.
Nice.
Yep. What I really do is just work in Excel all day.
I like it says former coworkers.
Former coworkers. Right.
Oh, that's good.
Oh gosh. So you've been studying business, Thomas, and
But you're gearing up for a little bit of a transition,
well,
right?
correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So this past year I studied business at Michigan because I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was like, hey, business, sure. Uh, but realized it's honestly, if you're going into business, it's really boring. Like that's
Jeez. This isn't the advice part, by the way.
this is not
He's
the
going
that,
off
that
script.
comes
I'm
later.
just saying, okay, if you like to crunch numbers and sit on a computer all day, sure. Or if you get into like sales, sure, that seems kind of fun. But
Just for the record, we do need like business people. So if you're
Yeah.
studying
yeah,
business
oh, yeah,
and you
don't
like it,
quit
go
business.
for it.
It's not for everyone, including me.
That is true.
I kind of take a step back in my previous comment. Sorry, that might get cut. But yeah, I was studying business. Then God pulled out a 2x4 and started hitting me over the head, telling me to go to seminary. So after a couple months of running away from him, like usual, I'm transferring to St. John Vianney up in the cold Minnesota. So yeah, that's my new track. I'm studying Jesus now, is what I like to say. So yeah, but during the year, I took a lot of prereqs. If you're going to be a freshman, you're going to take a lot of prereqs. Freshman and sophomore year are kind of more a little bit boring because you got to get the base stuff out of the way. But then junior, senior year, you start to like more study your field. So maybe that's why business is boring. Who knows? I don't know. But,
Business
I'm just
classes were
surprised.
boring because I didn't have very many of them.
Actually, this Thomas, I can answer the question for you.
Please.
Though you didn't make a very good case for business classes being boring, but maybe business class was boring because your teacher wasn't Michael Scott.
That's true.
Probably
So
very.
this is an excellent scene from Michael Scott being invited by Ryan to be a guest lecturer at his business classes. He's explaining the different types of business.
This is such a good scene.
All right, I think you're inspired. Shall we proceed? There are 4 kinds of business: tourism, food service, railroads, and sales, and hospitals / manufacturing, and air travel.
I love that.
And hospitals / manufacturing.
Manufacturing.
I can say that that's true. That was in my class.
Yeah. Hospital /
See,
manufacturing.
this is why you needed Michael Scott. It wouldn't be boring. He's about to show you why.
Right.
Boom.
Right.
The fundamentals of business. The fundamentals of business. Mental is a part of the word. I have underlined it. Because you're mental, if you don't have a good time, you have to enjoy it.
Well, the fun is in it.
Fundamental.
Oh, right.
Get out.
I know.
I
Uh,
love that. Yeah. I mean,
The Office is really relevant to any conversation that you're ever having with anyone ever.
Right.
That's basically how I live my life.
If you're teaching business at the university level, you should probably just incorporate scenes from The Office. If you're teaching political science, for example, you should incorporate scenes from Parks and Rec.
Right.
I'm sure there's a television series for just about every major that you can have in college.
And if nothing else, Community is always relevant because that's at a university.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Or college anyway.
Yeah, a community college. Mr. Crowley, what I asked you to share one, or think about sharing one tip, just a real practical thing for our seniors as they transition to college. So what would you like to share?
Yeah, so I'd like to say something super practical is walk to your classes before the first day of classes pops up, because in college, professors don't care. Absolutely no mercy. They they don't know your name, they don't know who you are, and they're just there to lecture. And now there are some professors that are nicer, but a lot of the at least big lecture professors, they just go right away. And maybe we'll make fun of you if you step in late. If you're at a smaller college, you might get made fun of more because they know you better. So remember,
So you're
professors
telling me
and-
that college professors are actually part of the Cobra Kai?
yes, exactly.
Do you have a problem with that, Mr. Lawrence? No, Sensei? No mercy. If you don't know that reference, you should look it up. Cobra Kai.
Nobody knows how to spell that.
Well, I bet Google will autofill it.
That's probably true. Once you type Cobra and then a space or dash. Yeah. So, Thomas, did you happen to walk in late to a class? Is this?
Yeah, it happens. It's gonna happen. Or else, hey, probs if you're never late to a college class. But if you go
Did-
to a big college like Michigan, I mean, like 40,000 kids. My dorm was like 15-minute walk from everything. So
Did they ever
that
lock the doors on you? Because that happened at
happened.
EMU a couple of times. I know that the professors would close the door and lock them. And if you didn't make it in on time, you just
Wow,
couldn't come to that class.
Wow.
that's crazy.
Yeah, that didn't happen to me. I did get made fun of in a couple of my yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying that me making fun of you for like 4 years straight was actually really helpful because now you're used to it.
Exactly. That tough skin that you get at Lansing Catholic from other
You're
calls.
welcome, Thomas.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, speaking of professors, you have not seen Flat Dan Travels yet, so we have a new Flat Dan Travels video for you, a retrospective. This is from a past trip. This is continuing Flat Dan's long summer trip to Seattle, Washington.
Have you ever heard of Flat Stanley?
Yeah.
So this is our Flat Dan.
Oh my god.
Are we hilarious?
That's so funny.
He's a coworker who doesn't really like to travel. And
Okay,
so
yeah.
we've decided he's going to join us on all of our travel now, whether he likes it or not.
Because a friend of mine gave me a deck of cards with his picture on them, of course.
Yes. Right.
Oh gosh. I don't think I've seen that one before. Alright, guys, here you are. Welcome to the top.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
Excellent.
that was great.
That was such a fun trip.
Yeah, we got our own personal elevator
Yeah, all the way
Uh,
up to the Space Needle.
to the Space
Just
Needle.
the three of us. And what was that guy's name? He was really nice.
I think he had a name tag on, but I didn't catch it in the video.
I forget. Oh, well.
Yeah, I don't know. The Starbucks roastery, though, in Seattle, incredible.
And it's really fun if you're hanging out with Ms. DeVries and you keep calling it the rotisserie. She
Yes.
thinks that that's hilarious. And by that, I mean she really finds it annoying, and I
Yes.
find it hilarious.
So the best thing there, which all Starbucks should have during the summer, is cold brew float.
Oh, man, that was so good.
Take a
Cold
root beer
brew
float.
coffee in a mug with vanilla
With a
ice
big
cream.
dollop of vanilla ice cream on top. Oh, my gosh.
It was incredible. I
That
love cold brew
was-
coffee,
That was so
and
good.
adding ice cream to it I didn't
How could that
realize.
go wrong?
I didn't realize how good that could be.
I feel like coffee is not the move though. Coffee is not good.
What?
You don't like coffee?
I'm not a big coffee guy now.
All right, let's see.
Mr. Pole, we might not be able to air this
How to-
episode.
I think if
Like-
I hit this little 3-dot button by his video and hit remove, actually report. I should just report him. To
That's
Zoom.
right.
That's what I should do.
Yeah.
All right, Father Paul, who's our saint of the day?
So our saint of the day is we continue moving through the doctors of the church. We're talking about Saint Therese of Lisieux.
Oh yeah.
Saint Therese is a little bit different from the others that we've been looking at. The other doctors of the church, the Saint Ambrose, Augustine, Gregory, and Jerome, were known kind of for being giants of the faith. And what's really funny is that Therese is a giant of the faith in the fact that she's little. And what I mean by that is her huge contribution to Catholic spirituality, more than different contributions to theology or whatever, is something that she calls the little way. As she was looking out at a garden, she loved looking at the roses, right? And she thought that the roses were the most beautiful flower, but started reflecting on how boring of a garden it would be if everything were roses, and how the roses' beauty are actually accentuated by the ivy and the violets and the lilies and all these other things. And so her whole little way was about trying to love as much as possible in all of the little ways that she could kind of think about. And so from there, she actually did end up writing somewhat of an autobiography. It's called The Story of a Soul. If you haven't read it, it's really good. Really recommend it. But her little way has inspired tons of people, like Pope John Paul I, Pope John Paul II, Mother Teresa, St. Maximilian Kolbe, our current Holy Father, Pope Francis, all had huge devotions to Saint Therese and her little way, because it's so accessible. She even talks about in the Story of a Soul trying to read these huge theological treatises, and how she would kind of get mixed up in her mind. And then as soon as she just decided, you know what, all I'm going to do is try to love God and love the people that I'm with, everything kind of became clearer. And she actually became a saint that way, just deciding I'm going to love as much as I can in the place where I am. Now, the place where she was a convent. She actually petitioned the Holy Father to let her into the convent before they were actually before she was actually old enough, and so she got permission to enter the convent and spent her life there in cloister. She died young, I think around the age 24, of tuberculosis. And spent her life in the convent praying mostly for priests. That was kind of the charism of the Carmelite order that she entered. And so she's known as Saint Therese of Lisieux. She's also called sometimes the Little Flower. And yeah, that's Saint Therese. We also do have a window of her in our chapel because
Yes.
she's just great.
I hadn't thought of that. I should grab that. Yeah. Thomas, can you lead us in our spiritual theme prayer?
Yes. In the name of Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, you are the source of life and virtue. Thank you for the goodness you have shown to our school community. Make us a people of hope, encouraging others and building them up, following Jesus' words and teachings so that our joy may be complete. Give us the grace to be patient and persevering in times of trouble, disappointment, confusion, and fear, and to trust in your Son's promise, I will be with you always. Help us to stay connected to you in prayer and focus on your heart of love for us, always aware that you are the Father of mercy and the God of all consolation. We offer this prayer and our entire day in faith, through your Son, Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
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 Well, thank you for joining us, Thomas. It was great to catch up with you on the show.
Yeah, good to have
Thanks
you
for
on,
having
man.
me.
Yeah, cool. Well, Cougars, we're taking the weekend off. We'll be back on Monday for another episode of the Cougar Daily. Until then, stay safe. Enjoy the warmer weather. Hopefully, we'll get some sun, I think, later today. But yeah, stay safe. God bless.
Bye now.
Go Cougs.